All right, no need to start your cameras yet. Stand by. There are some steps involved here, and Richie and Eric are going to show you who's changed the oil in their car. How many gallons of oil are you? There we go.
We changed 14 quarts.
14 quarts? Yeah, so we can be 14 quarts. What is that? 12 or 3 gallons? Actually, don't change the oil in a locomotive like this. It goes out in a little jar like that. We test it. Every time it comes back, we keep running that 250 gallons of oil and we replace it when we can. This is a diesel locomotive. It's 2,400 horsepower. How many cars is that? So it's a 2,400 horsepower locomotive. This engine is made for going 60, 70 miles an hour. It's pulling mile-long trains, a couple of them in a row. Would pull 100 cars easy. This locomotive in particular was built in 1964. It was actually built twice. So this locomotive was built in 1964, ran for about a year, and crashed into a dump truck and flew off the tracks. It was damaged so bad it went back to the factory. They put it back together, and it had so many new parts they actually sent it out with a different number. So it was built in 1964 or 1965, depending on what story you're reading. Let me check my list here. Yeah, four and a half jugs. Well, this has a couple hundred gallons of antifreeze too, and it's actually not antifreeze, it's just water, which is dangerous for us because these either you have to drain them in the winter or they freeze and they can destroy themselves. So luckily, 50 plus years of service, we've never had to do that. So, can anybody point out the transmission on this engine? Anybody know what it is? Does it have a transmission? It does not. It's a diesel electric locomotive. So that 2,400 horsepower engine you're going to hear start is running an electric generator, 700 volts, and it powers 4 big motors that are on each of the axles of the locomotive. When we got this locomotive, we actually had to change one of those entirely. We had to lift this engine up to about here. We rolled the wheels out, and it sat on, blocks for a couple days. Take the whole thing apart, put it back together, and that's how we ended up with this engine. So speaking of coolant, Richie, one thing we have to fix. It's a couple different systems. There's an air system, there's a coolant system, there's a fuel system, there's a high voltage system, there's a mid voltage system, and then there's a low voltage system. The first thing we do is what? We're gonna turn on the batteries. So these batteries, there's about 8 of them. You see these big boxes on the side, there's 2 in each. They weigh a couple hundred pounds each. So your car battery is about that big. This locomotive has 200-pound battery. 4 of them, that means 64 volts. That 64 volts is actually going to start turning this engine on its own, and when we do that, it's going to start the whole 2,400 horsepower. That's going to blow some smoke out of the stack and start making electricity for the motors. So we're not going to actually see it run, but we are going to see it fire up. Are we ready? All right. Richie, you're going to go up there. You're going to put the battery. Yeah. Fire up there. First thing that's going to happen is
Let me just get out of the way.
going to turn on the fuel pump, which you're going to hear. This is a 2,000-gallon fuel tank. So when you fill your car, this tank, if we were to fill it all at once, it would cost us about $5,000. And it burns about 100. If this is doing a full day's work, it burns about 100 gallons of fuel a day. So Richie, starting the fuel pump. Let me know when you're ready there, Richie. Let me know when you're ready. Guys, see the fuel running? All right, who wants to count it down? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.